Thank you so much, Christophe, for being here with me. Basically, what we are going to talk about is the talent side of the TTOs, the track transfer offices, and where we can improve, how is the current stage, what learnings basically. And my first question to you is, if there is an increase in spin-offs in certain TTOs and universities, would this also would it be better or worse in regards of finding the right talent?
I would say both, actually. In a way, it's something exciting to create a company. You can communicate on that for your students, for external people, and say, well, we create value, we create new adventures. Creating a company is something, again, exciting. You can create your own jobs if you join us. But at the same time, if you increase the number of spin-off, then the pool might be too small. Okay, so universities, they always get this issue about attracting people, attracting students, attracting researchers, attracting staff also. Okay, and for instance, in the TTOs, we see this difficulty. It's not so easy to find the right profile because there is no formal training for that. If you think about what sort of profiles we need in the TTOs, they are very diverse. It was very classical to take scientific people and then to paint them with some legal aspects and finance, communication. And then we started also to hire really legal people, IP people. So that's a wide diversity, and this difficulty of finding the right profiles, we find that for TTOs. So now for the spin-off, we have to find the right people to create the spin-off. And this is, again, a different profile.
And in regards of the internal talent at the TTO, what would you say is the biggest bottleneck? What is the biggest competence or skill that you're looking for?
It's difficult actually to find experienced people and to keep them. Because the evolution within a TTO is not so simple to organize. Especially if the boss is young, then you will have all these knowledge transfer officers. And if we are talking about a small team, there are not so many possibilities of internal evolution. That means that some people might think about a career by moving, through moving from one institution to another one, staying in the same country or changing the countries. So the staff management is not so simple in small teams. And actually one possibility is for TTO people then to go out and create a company. And this is what happened, for instance, in some of the French tech transfer companies. You would have people dealing with technical aspects of projects or commercial aspects, and they would actually live with the project and be part of the creation of the spin-off. And this is something I think quite interesting.
Yeah, indeed. I would call them like venture builders. Is that an entrepreneur in residence kind of?
It's not always named after this name, but yes, that could be part of the pre-incorporation period of starting the business without creating the company. And when it's ready, the people go away because they are very familiar with the project, they're involved, and they see opportunities.
Got it. And besides the alumni of the university, I'm guessing that the university has some kind of database in regards to this. Where else would a TTO or a university VC fund get their talent from? Where would you find these people?
That's a very good question. Alumni is not always very organized. You'd be surprised. Yeah. Some universities, actually, this is the case in Luxembourg, have now designed new departments, including TTOs, incubations, and alumni, and also fundraising, because it's all part of a similar approach, building new opportunities and creating new value with very different stakeholders. And the common part of all this is probably alumni, because they can work in companies involved in research partnership. They can fund new companies. They can be part of the spin-off systems. They can provide advice, and they can also provide funds for the university. So that's an interesting source, but this is the only one, not the only one. Another source of information is basically the existing ecosystem, because around innovation you will find many consultants, advisors, mentors, and so on. And one of the difficulties is to qualify them. So what is the quality of this network? And this is a bit touchy, because it's very difficult to have your blacklist, okay, of non-competent people, but eager to work for the university and get paid. And on the other hand, it's very fruitful to discuss with the existing entrepreneur and to get the feedback from people who succeeded. You will find that around the funds, you will find them around the associations of startups, association of companies, okay, of industrial companies. And what the universities have to do is also to provide attractive information about the university. And we must be sexy also in our projects to explain. It can be very interesting for them, even if they are very busy, even if they are successful entrepreneurs. It might be interesting for them to give time, for instance, to students or to spin-off creators.
And could you elaborate on that? How can you make a university sexy, basically, in regards of this?
I think we are talking about the quality of the projects. That means we have to show our successes. Okay, success is creating something good for the country. Also, it's very important to demonstrate that, especially in new ecosystems. Okay, you got to demonstrate that this is useful for the region, for the country, for Europe as well. And you have to demonstrate that it can be a good opportunity for the investors, not only for money, but also for, when I'm talking about the quality of the project, is also the impact you're going to create. You will find people really interested in environment, or creating jobs, or creating new, drugs. Okay, the health sector is something attracting fundraising, because it's easy to understand for people. I mean, you will have, for personal reasons, people really interested in supporting new solutions to health problems.
And how do you? I mean, my background is in headhunting, so I'm connecting people.
Yeah.
How do you? Could you walk me through the process of connecting, like the researcher founder and the business person, basically the venture builder, or whatever the name is that we would like to use?
Either you organize things, so you organize special days, okay, about funding, about innovation, about new research projects, and you try to invite the right persons. And for that, you will use your ecosystem. Okay, you will find innovation agencies, the ministries, different bodies we are in charge of generating these contacts, or you use your own database. You mentioned Alumni very quickly, or you use your personal links. Okay, and that takes time, because of course, for instance, the researchers, you would be surprised by the number of links they have, because of their international activities, because research is very international by definition. So they can be connected to many people in different countries, and they have also good examples in these countries, especially if you are talking about countries very much involved in tech transfer. So they will see this network, and they are sometimes able to mobilize people and to get mentors coming from other continents to check on certain projects. You will find also some members of panels, for instance, because for different countries and different funding agencies, they will also attract some evaluators. And it's always interesting to talk to these people, because they usually go around in several countries or several agencies for funding projects, and they will have a very good experience. And they might be interested in investing in some of your projects.
Okay.
I'm
Got
not sure
it.
I answered
Yeah.
the real question.
But
Yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
If we talk about success stories, so when and where, can you give some examples of where and where it has, when and where it actually succeeded? Is it because of the individual, the researcher? Is it about the structure, the incentive, also for the business person, or perhaps just the whole cultural? Because in certain countries or certain regions or universities, it just works better.
It's probably a mix of the three of them plus luck. But the central part is the person. You are completely right. And you can see very quickly what sort of people you are dealing with. If they are happy with negotiating, if they are more on the projection, if they want to create something to make money, if they want to create something to pass that to the children, if they want just to have fun. I mean, you can see the different type of persons, and that will be very important, especially if you want to create a team. You got to play with this diversity and complementarity again. So the person is essential. Then the cultural aspects are very important as well. Are you in an ecosystem where it's normal to succeed this way? Is that normal to try and fail? Or is that an exception? Are you going to be the strange, the black sheep in your lab because you try to create a company? This is very important. So the cultural acceptance of creating a company. And then the support of the ecosystem is major. If you are alone, if you have to invent everything on your own, if you have to find the right context on your own, that it would be much, much more difficult. So usually it's a mixture. You got a good support from the ecosystem. You are ready to be part of an entrepreneurial team. And of course, you build on a good idea, good product. But this is almost an evidence because we have the chance in university to provide many, many good ideas. This is something very strong. And this is really a strength in our system because also our students are very creative. And so this is really a chance, and we got to support these people. So we need also to bring them with the right education, awareness raising, not trying to transform them in fully skilled people, but to give them the keys to understand, okay, and to identify the important points, and then they can get the necessary support. They're able to talk to investors, to legal people, to commercial people, and so on.
If you would give advice to a university about how to improve the founding teams, basically, what kind of advice would you give?
First, I would really consider managing the knowledge and the data, because I think we have in the universities many very useful information and many useful contacts. I'm not sure we always manage them in a professional way. And this is not only database, that could be the start of a CRM, for instance. I'm not sure many universities actually have a very practical CRM. If you think about it, I mean, the universities are huge stakeholders in a region and in a country, because they are a big employer. Okay, they buy many things. They are part of the economical life. Okay, and that brings many very natural contacts. Of course, they are in contact with many government offices and many industrial partners as well. How do we keep track of that? Okay, and just by knowing this sort of network, you will just enrich your own database of useful contacts, because it's just a question of experience. I've worked with this company. Oh, and they had a deal with this venture capital. Oh, how did they do that? And so on. So this is the way we should go, organize and keep tracks of all the information we got about the person we work with. And this is not always the case. And then we must be also very clear on our rules and the way we work. This is part of the trust. once a university is trusted, we attract people. Okay, if things are not clear, if the processes are not clear, if people got this image of a huge body, very heavy, lacking flexibility and reactivity, then we are not attractive. Does it answer your question?
Yes. In regards of the TTOs, you mentioned earlier off record about smaller TTOs and larger TTOs that cover even a region, like you mentioned in France.
Yes.
What would work better in your case? Is that like a smaller university focused TTO, or rather something in the region? I'm saying this because there is some, for instance, in Oxford or in Munich University, they have very large teams to accommodate basically and to support these spin-offs. What would you say is the best combination?
There is not there is no one fits all. Okay? One size fits all. You have to adapt it to the reality of your ecosystem. I mentioned before that the critical mass must be calculated. Also, in regards to the capacity of your region to absorb all the science results and new companies you're going to create, because the proximity is very important. So the size must be adapted to this critical mass. And if you want to have a complete team providing a full range of services, then you need a pipe to feed this team, so this team can work. So I would say the best solution is probably between a single national office in a country that would make sense in countries like Germany or France or Spain. The regional scale is probably the good one, but again, it depends on the region. You got poorer regions and you got very rich regions full of competencies and research, and then they must be treated differently, of course. And then you got to take in account also the history of the different institutions you're working with.
In regards of process, where do you think it's best to have a business person next to the researcher? Is it prior to the pitch to the TTO or after, or when do you think there is this matchmaking should be happening?
It depends on the objective. If you want just to if you just want to the researcher to understand that his or her research might interest other people than just the peers or the students, then it's good to have somebody with some experience of practical application. Okay, but it's not very good to talk too early about commercialization, marketing, and business, because many researchers will be just not interested and say, no, I'm not doing this job for making business or money. But as soon as we decide that the pathway to effective transfer could go through a creation of a company, then as soon as this moment, you should bring in people knowing about the market. Okay, just to feed the discussion. We are not going to change the research or to define new research tracks based on the market, but we can launch some maturation projects. Okay, so bringing a better readiness level for a product, so technological readiness level, but also understanding of the market. And for this, you can have the people talk together very soon, as early as possible. And we got sometimes these profiles in the TTOs. And so if there is a trusting relationship between the TTO and the researchers, then we can talk about the possibility without imposing anything.
And besides the impact and the long-term goals that this business person may have, what kind of incentive would there be for this business person? Is that a share of the equity? Is it like just a monthly fee, or how would I?
what we see is that actually either we got passionate people and they love to be next to projects and next to students or young researchers, and because they just love it. Some of them, they don't need money because they had a very good exit previously, or they are retired, and this is just their pleasure to accompany these projects. Many others are just involved in preparation, maturation projects, and they get paid very simply because it's planned in the project. For instance, what we call the proof of concept projects, usually they provide some funding for advisors, mentors, coaches, entrepreneur residents, and there is an advantage is that, I mean, if you pay somebody, then you can expect some deliverables. If you're just on a goodwill basis, it's a bit different. So, and of course, there is always a possibility to get them on board afterwards and to offer them shares in the future company, of course.
And if a founder, a researcher, actually is pitching to you at a TTO, what are the things that you're paying attention to? What is the things that would turn this conversation into an actual engagement? For instance, at a market VC, it's rather that the founder also understands sales and also how to bring the product to the person, or to the B2B or B2C. But with the researcher, there's a whole different element. This person probably doesn't have born sales skills.
They never consider the pitch because the TTO is at the service of the researcher. So we are the support service. We have to be very convincing to identify interesting results. So the first step is to define with them what are interesting results. And to me, that's very simple. It's something that could become something else than just a publication. Okay, we know that the main objective for researchers, because this is how they are evaluated, it's to publish. So our first job is to explain to them that sometimes some things have to be protected before publications, because these results might be interesting for a third-party activity or creation of a company. First step. So in that case, we pitch in front of them to convince them. Then when I talk to a researcher, I always consider, is he passionate about what this research is doing? Because that would be very important. At a given point, if a researcher say, I've got no time for that, not my focus anymore, not interesting, then we lose everything. Okay, so the is at the heart of the research, and will that be something interesting for more than some month? Okay, and the second thing I look at is the team. In that case, not the spin-off team, because we are not talking about spin-off yet, but the research team. Are we talking about a PhD student alone? Are we talking about a professor with 3 postdoc, 2 PhD students, and all working in the same field? And in that case, it can become a strategic action, and this is a very good basis for transfer. All right. So I'm looking at the team, and I'm also looking at the capacity of the researchers to listen, because we are going to tell many things, many advice, and if they never follow any of the advice, it's frustrating and not efficient, of course. So these are the main thing. Is that really part of something really interesting for the researcher? Has he got a scientific team able to go on this project? And will that be a practical relationship?
In your whole career, you're mostly dealt with STEM-related spin-offs, I'm guessing.
No.
Please.
I'm an engineer, so you're right. I started in a Polytechnic Institute in France, so it was all very much industry-oriented. Okay, and I was working with lots of engineers. It was actually schools of engineering. But then I worked for the Federal University of Toulouse, and that included humanities, legal stuff, social sciences, economy, etc. So I learned than to work with very different people. Okay, and for instance, at the University of Luxembourg, half of our spin-off and more than half of our IP is actually comes from non-STEM.
That's very interesting.
Because we got very strong skills in education, psychology, this sort of field. And so we created company, for instance, selling new softwares for teaching mathematics without using languages. Okay, it's a great success. It's, of course, we are always talking about software because you need the support. So IT is very present, and of course now many projects talk about AI because it's also fashionable and so on. But the heart of the research is not always scientific and technological, and there is big value. The thing is, we face very complex problems. I mean, humanity today faces very complex problems. So the answer to these problems cannot be monodisciplinary. So we will definitely talk about science and technology, legal aspects, acceptance, psychology, the way people are going to react to these new solutions. And you can see that in many fields. I mentioned artificial intelligence, of course. Space industry is the same. And so we have several issues. Health is really an issue where you have to mix science, technology, and humanities. Really, definitely.
Clear. Thank you. Something about cultural differences. We mentioned already in Europe, there's a lot of cultural differences, but also from the US, there's also a lot of cultural differences. How do you, as a former president of the ASTP, how do you see these cultural differences in regards of spin-offs?
With the States, there is this idea that they are valorizing their own activity much better than we do. I mean, just talking about what they do, they do this and they talk like this, and we do the opposite. Okay, and so we organize a staff exchange with the States from TTOs, and it was really funny because most of them came back and said, "We are the same. we communicate less about our success, and of course we have the huge success. Okay, MIT, etc." Stanford, but apart from this, the global, the average university in the States have the same problems as we have here. But one big cultural difference is about the capacity for researchers to get involved in spin-off. It's very natural, okay, and it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you do both, public research and companies, and most of the research is not public actually in the States when you look at it, and the pressure on the researchers is much higher. Many researchers they got to get out and find their funding. Yeah, so the mindset is very different, and so creating a company is much more natural. And I think one very efficient thing is when the students or the PhD students can see in the lab experienced people who created companies, and they might be professor, they might be friends of the professor, they might be visiting professor, whatever. And in any case, it's very natural to see very close to the lab private activities, and this is not so common in Europe. So we try to organize places where people can meet. So you could see actually labs, public labs, and in the same corridor, private companies. But this is not so simple in the cultural approach in Europe, because there is always this question of how you manage the conflict of interest, and are we sharing the same objectives? Well, obviously not. Is that compatible?
Are we then overcautious in Europe?
Depends on the philosophy you have about that. Huh? It's a question of academic freedom, not too much pressure from the private sector, but it might be a bit naive.
Is there something that we can learn from the States in regards of the alumni, for instance? Because they have a better organized alumni database than many of the European countries.
Yes, maybe because of historical reasons, they had also to build this sort of, belonging to the same country, the nation, and the belonging to the same institution, the alumni. For instance, in France, it was until recently very, very weak. We are very proud in France of the École d'ingénieurs, so engineering schools, the higher engineering schools. And some of them had these alumni approaches, but many of them did not. So the cultural approach about alumni, about belonging to the same family, is much stronger in the States.